Howdy everyone, Poacher here with an Age of Magic video, and in today's video we're going to start a new series where we take a few heroes every episode and we have a little bit of a discussion about these heroes. What's good, what's not so good. We're not focusing on the meta or what's the best of the best. We just want to talk about the heroes in general and what maybe was good about them at one point or could have been good about them. That is the goal. We're not focusing on the meta, as I said. We're not focusing on the game modes either. This is purely the love for the heroes. There are over 170 heroes in the game, and I can promise you every single hero is someone's favorite. Just has to be. Logically has to be. I'd love to do a official poll and see which hero is the absolute number one of every player in the game. I would have to guess either Schnee or Gatekeeper. In my heart, Gatekeeper is the mascot for Age of Magic. My personal favorite though is Tricky. He has always been my number one go-to. But let's get into it. Let's start off and I'll show you, and hopefully you understand a little bit more after we cover the first hero. Let's go over my first hero, Siegfried. Now you're probably looking at Siegfried and you're wondering to yourself, Siegfried is neither a new hero, nor was he ever really a low-tier hero in his prime. There was nothing ever wrong with Siegfried. He was actually quite a great hero and he aged very well. He's still used today in Knights of the Council squads. When he was first released, he was instantly one of the best heroes in the game. He was the first hero to be released with an instant taunt, and his second ability, Patronage of Light, made him very, very tanky. There were very few characters in the game, especially melee damages, that could do any type of real damage to this hero. Then he would come along with his self-heal. Again, one of the very few self-heals introduced into the game. There were a few before him, like Guard, who could self-heal, but Guard didn't carry the tankiness this hero did, which made it more prevalent on this hero as well. He was a great hero. So, why is he on the list? What is it about this hero that I want to talk about? Over time, we did get access to other Knights of the Council. Now, when the other Knights of the Council were released, they were done as a group. They were created in roughly the same time span, and therefore they had a theme, and that theme escaped Siegfried. So there is the possibility that this hero could be reworked. And what is the theme? Let's go to the next hero on the list, Vulcan. And Vulcan shares this theme with all the others, so we'll only cover Vulcan. But if we look at her passive, Vulcan, like every other Knight of the Council except Siegfried and Roland, has what I like to classify as the Super Saiyan trait. Over the span of battling, they gain stacks, and when reaching a certain limit on these stacks, they go into their Super Saiyan mode that gives them other capabilities. Siegfried does not have this within his kit. He isn't gaining any stacks and going into a Super Saiyan mode. Therefore, there is the potential to rework him and give him this, whether it's through Awakenings or completely reworking the hero. I think that there should be some love or just attention given to that so he fits the theme of the Knights of the Council. He is still very much used within the squad. He is not a forgotten hero. He's not just collecting dust at the bottom of the hero list. He is still very much used. And I think with that rework or that adjustment through maybe Awakenings, he could see gameplay for a lot longer in Age of Magic's history. So, or not history, future. Future's the word I want. So, yeah, that's what I would like to see adjusted with Siegfried. The next character I want to talk about is Damio. Damio was a very interesting character when he was first released. He brought a lot of new things to the game. He was a cross-faction character. He could work with the High Elves, or you could build demons around him as well. He was also able to, he is one of two characters that can do this now, but he was the first at the time. In place of dead allies, he could bring back demons. So he could, if the situation was the same, and you had 4 characters dead on your team, and he was alive, he would bring back a full army. They weren't permanent though, they would die after 2 turns, just like Naja's Drakes will die, but it was an army to be reckoned with, and the AI would typically target the resurrected characters, so you were getting free damage out. Next up, he was able to remove the buffs off a character and replace them with dots. When you consider that you would normally be running Mizuhiku with him, dots would do extra damage. On paper, he seemed like a really good hero, but did he hit the mark? Unfortunately not. It was quickly realized that Oraheim was just the superior leader with what she could do, and Damio just fell into the shadows. So what went wrong? Well, number one, the demons at this time were becoming an old faction. They were being phased out, and the demons weren't ever really built to compete with what the heroes were at this time. When you consider what these heroes were able to do versus what the demons could do, there was a very vast gap. Now you consider what the demons could do back then to what heroes could do to this day, it's an insane jump. I mean, it's power creep, we understand, but it was still relevant at this point of the game's time as well. So when he was bringing back demons, he wasn't bringing back your Devourers and Void Gunners. He was bringing back Infernus and Abyss Hound. And with that, you weren't really achieving much. They could still easily be taken off the field. They weren't super powerful, and it wasn't hard to deal with. The thing about the dots was, in theory, a good setup. You could remove all the buffs of a character, replace them with dots, and those dots would do extra damage because of Mizuhiku. Again, the problem at the time was there weren't many factions that dealt in huge amounts of buffs. When you consider a faction like the Cloud Wanderers, who, by the time Astoria has her turn, every Cloud Wanderer has 3, 4, 5 buffs on them, there weren't factions that could really do that back then. So you weren't getting a huge amount of damage or benefit from this ability. In short, he was great on paper, but just fell short when it came to actual combat. How you would rework this is, honestly, it would be hard to rework this hero to make him relevant in many ways. You could add awakenings to him. You could easily make it so that his second ability, the one that does apply, it will take damage as target converts or buffs on the target into the same number of dots. You could make this so it is AoE, it affects everyone. I think that would be much more beneficial. Maybe not removing them, but applying dots and then removing it off the main target. So an AoE focused on one target and everyone else gets hit by the secondary effect. So removes the target from one character, applies dots to that one character, but then applies dots to everyone. So, I mean, you don't want to make it completely broken, though this character could never really be broken. As for the resurrection part, I just don't feel like with the demons he can resurrect, it needs to have a timer to it. I don't think they need to survive 2 turns. I think they should just be there until they're killed. So a permanent demon comes to life. I mean, demons aren't the same as drakes. Technically, demons are immortal in a sense. When they die, they don't die. They just go to the demon realm. That's typically the law of demons in most things. So, yeah. As for his leadership ability, I don't know. I think it was a very hard strike to make this character a cross-faction leader. And I think instead of making him really efficient in one area, they divided his efficiency into 2 areas, and therefore he was only really half as good in one area. Whereas Oraheim focused purely on the High Elves. That's what made her a better faction leader. So, yeah, he was a very interesting hero at the time. He brought a lot of new things to the game. Unfortunately, it just wasn't utilized very well. The next hero I want to talk about is Phoenix. Phoenix is a very unique hero in the game. She dies and there's a chance she resurrects and brings back other beastmen. She's a very unique hero. But in my personal opinion, the theme for the Phoenix just wasn't hit when they designed this character. And that's understandable. If you gave the concept of a Phoenix to every person and told them to create a character for the beastmen based on the lore and physiology of a Phoenix, I'm sure everyone would come up with a different thing. I'm not saying my version would be better than the person that designed it. There was obviously reasons for doing what was done. I'm just telling you how I would have done it if it was me. Just like you could tell me how you would have done it if it was you. Now, I actually had no issue with any of her abilities. It's actually her passive that doesn't strike me really as very Phoenixy. The idea that she dies and then there is a chance she comes back to life, I don't know, it just never resonated. What I would have liked to have seen with Phoenix was that when she died, she reverted to an egg form. And in this egg form, she had increased speed, and it kind of acted similar to the way the Rararachni eggs work when a bug is killed and they turn into their sack. She is killed, she's turned into an egg, and every turn she has, she lets out healing across the whole team. A cleansing flame. Cleanses debuffs, heals, it's a menace. The idea here would be that you would need to kill the egg in an X amount of turns, and if you cannot kill the egg, she respawns, she comes back to life. It wouldn't so much benefit resurrecting other allies. I think she should just inherently have an ability that resurrects an ally. That way, because you would just then aim the other beastman and leave her till last. That would be the way you would counter her. So if you wanted a pure counter, you could do that. But I think her passive and resurrection should be based purely just on her. This again would also prevent characters with anti-heal working against her, because when she dies, she doesn't actually die. She just goes into her egg form and then she comes back. It's not a resurrection, it's a reborn. So the only way to really eliminate her would be to kill the egg, and then she would be dealt with. That was just one thing I had. That was my one quip with this hero, was I just really wish they focused on the whole egg aspect of the Phoenix, that when it dies, it is reborn. And though that is kind of how she works, I would have loved to have seen the egg. I don't know. That's just how I envisioned it. Again, that is just a personal opinion on the hero. I'm not talking anything about how she performs in battle. I think she does everything well. She does have the element of cleansing and the element of rebirth, but I, again, am focusing purely on the actual Phoenix itself than the hero itself. So, yeah. But there you go. Those are 3 heroes I wanted to look at. And like I said, this is episode 1, so hopefully we can do more in the future, because it's fun sometimes to just talk about these heroes and what we expected, what we remember, and what we would like to have seen happen instead. There we go. There's episode 1. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment below. I will answer it to the best of my ability. And wherever you're on the world, until next time, please take care of yourself.